it's definitely got the shape of a blob, but it's got the nuance of a much finer piece.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
We're here, Sam.
We're here, Jamie. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Oh, I've never been better. Holy shit.
We are Sam and Jamie, not necessarily in that order. This is Final Transmission, a podcast where me and you, Jamie and or Sam, review a horror movie every week.
Review is generous.
Well, talk around.
Every week there's a horror movie, and we're here. That's about the best we can offer.
And this week we're doing an 80s goofy horror pastiche in honor of the video game coming out tomorrow, whenever this gets released.
Oh, it's that soon. Wow. Wowie, wow.
Yeah. And we're talking about Killer Klowns from outer space. From outer space.
Yeah.
Before we start anything, Sam, how do you feel about the Dickies in general?
I have to tread really carefully here because our sponsor, Red Scare Industries, owner-founder Tobias Jeg, is the world's biggest Dickies fan. So if I start slagging off the Dickies, we could lose our fucking meal ticket, bud. I think the Dickies are actually great. Like, I think they have a really interesting sound and place in music history. Like, I just don't really think they fit anywhere that you put them, which is fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, they're sort of like if like New Romantic was punk.
Yeah, it's like they started with New Romantic, New Wave kind of vocal style, and then sort of worked backwards, and then found, pop punk and sort of built outwards. It's bizarre. It's a very bizarre sound, very strange band, but I like them a lot. I've never turned them off when they come on. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like this is the Killer Klowns from Outer Space theme.
Yeah,
is the Dickies song that I will go to occasionally.
Yeah,
I think.
Wow,
that's
just really that's such an underhanded compliment. This one movie song is the only song I will seek out by this band.
Yeah, I mean they do a lot of stuff that I think is covered by me listening to The Damned.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that the Dickies are going to scratch any itches, really, because a lot of other bands do a lot of what they do better, in my opinion. But they've got a lot of good party jams.
Well, I mean, and this is one of them.
All right, Jamie hates the Dickies. We've established this early on. Well, that's the thing.
I don't hate the Dickies.
I'd heard this song way before I saw this movie. So let's get into some when did you last type territory. I saw this movie for the first time yesterday, which is, borderline criminal. I think this is where people will probably turn the podcast off. But I'd heard this song years ago. I heard it when I was a kid. It used to pop up all the time. And I kind of lumped it in with like Nelly the Elephant, toy dolls, like all that kind of shit. And just, it didn't really, I like it because I love circus stuff, obviously, but,
Nelly the Elephant and toy dolls are very different things.
Oh, really? Did the toy dolls not do Nelly the Elephant?
Well, maybe they did, but...
Yeah, it's their biggest track on Spotify, nearly 11 million plays. Yeah, that was them. That was their big banger.
I just, I don't know. I saw the movie before I heard the song. Well, I didn't because the song is at the very beginning of the movie. But
yeah, I'd be impressed if you saw the whole movie before you saw the first 10 seconds.
So the movie and the song were always a unit for me.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess they were kind of divorced. I wonder what it's like hearing this song outside of the context of knowing that it's for a movie.
Well, I can tell you, it's confusing.
Please do.
It's not the best way to get into the Dickies, I'll tell you that much, because I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? Killer Klowns from outer space? Popcorn? What is this? But I liked how weird it was, and I think that's the beginning of the Dickies for me. Just going in weird. It's their top song on basically everything on Spotify. Nearly 5 million plays.
Yeah, I mean, like, because this movie feels niche, but it also, I don't think it is very niche. I think in America, at least, it probably aired on, I don't know, HBO or
It was Sci-Fi Channel.
was it Sci-Fi Channel?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
huge. It was like one of those fucking, they'll play it marathon style on Sci-Fi.
And I could see that it fulfills all of the stuff that the Sci-Fi Channel would then go on to make their own in terms of like the movies that they would produce or that they would buy in order to show on loops. I mean, we'll get into this, but like there's something about like, I don't know, Sharknado and all of those fucking hey, we made a bad movie on purpose things that really rub me up the wrong way.
Mm.
But that does not apply here.
No. Oh boy. Let's not. I don't want to tell you exactly how I feel about this movie too early because I feel like I tipped my hand in several ways. First of all, by telling you, before I told you what I thought of the movie, that I pre-ordered the deluxe version of the computer game. That was maybe a tip.
That definitely was a tip.
Yeah.
And then you watched it again.
It's the first time I've done this on the Final Transmission podcast. I watched it yesterday. I fucking watched it today as well. And I learned the riff on my guitar, and it's been on my mind.
Yeah, I was expecting, I genuinely was expecting a little video of you playing the riff on your guitar at some point.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen as soon as I can turn my amp up a little bit louder. It's a bit, it's a bit too early for that shit. But my immediate reaction to this is, how the fuck didn't I grab this off the shelf when I was a kid? I didn't realize it was a PG-13. I think maybe I saw it and just assumed it was an 18 or something because I never rented it, and it seems prime, absolutely prime for me to rent. Maybe I wasn't allowed.
Yeah, maybe you weren't. Maybe. Do you suffer from any amount of coulrophobia?
Nope, not even the remotest. If anything, I find I don't even really find Pennywise. I find the idea of Pennywise obviously terrifying to the center of my being. But the fact that he's a clown almost undermines it for me. What about you?
I completely agree.
They freak you out?
No. I mean, if I saw a clown, I mean, we've touched on this before, but if I saw a clown as standing, staring at me as I was walking through the park,
yeah,
I would probably be terrified by that.
Hmm.
But like clowns in movies, clowns as killers, like, no, I think it's scary that like these people have access to children. I think is the scary part.
No scarier than most teachers and the clergy. The thing. So I obviously don't have the phobe because normal clowns don't scare me even remotely. But I do admire when clowns are made scary. Art the Clown, for example, I find fucking terrifying. Obviously, Gacy, an amazing scary clown, did some great work. So
inspired one of my favorite songs ever. So
yeah, exactly
worth it for that. Let's say.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, like I also, it's worth going into this, letting you know early on. I'm largely, I think, probably just so fucking over clowns, like saturated. What more can you do with clowns? I'm thinking going into this. Also, not on a huge sci-fi kick at the moment. Not really feeling. I'm feeling Silly Goose Fun Time movies, but not necessarily fucking, oh great, a tongue-in-cheek, no budget, clown space horror that I then have to talk about for 2 hours. This is going to be fun. Fucking hell. We're going to talk about how this movie gets it right, but I was not ready to fall in love.
I want to hear more about that. Tell me more about your weird expectations going in.
Well, I thought it was going to be shit in all the shit ways that you would expect from the cover, the title, and, a brief kind of skim of the cast or like anything about the production. I'd seen the trailer years ago. Somebody was like, you should watch this. And I was like, you should go fuck yourself. It didn't resonate with me because I know what the clowns look like in this movie. And I'm thinking cheap, tacky. What filmmaker can I trust to do something good with this visual? Virtually no one. So I didn't have any high hopes. I certainly felt like I was going to be in for a bit of a chore, potentially, like a bit of a grind. I did not think it was going to be a good movie. Look at it that way. I didn't think I was going to be like, wow, that was a fucking amazing performance, naming no names. But I also kind of thought, it's obviously going to be silly. It can't be serious, can it? Which is a confusing expectation to have going into a movie like this. And, fucking hell, bud. I had a blast.
Good. So I first saw this movie, I think I was about 15.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I thought I was above it.
Right.
Like, I thought this is too silly to be a film that I tell people that I like.
Well, you had a proper thirst for blood at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the Gacy camp rather than the fun time camp.
Yeah. And you're not getting that from this movie. If you're like steeped in fucking video nasties and cry wanks, you're not Killer Clowns it's not gonna do it for you.
No. I mean, it does a lot for me. I mean, it did a lot for me, and it continues to do it
Mm.
and do it well. I think I was just, I don't know. You know, we've talked before about how much of a pretentious wanker I was when I was 15. So,
Your words, not mine, but yes.
yeah. So
The
yeah,
fact-
I thought I was above it.
Our listeners
not
can't
above it.
see the regret on your face when you say that. Just 1,000 memories. I mean, it sums up how I felt about this movie before I watched it. If I tell you that I said to Claire, I have to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I'm going to watch it on my own. And she said, please do. Because I think maybe she had the same feeling. And then I watched it and I said to her, I fucking wish I'd made a proper night of this. Like, this could have been a popcorn, beers, fucking serious sesh. But instead, I kind of watched it on my own, started a bit distracted, and then was like, oh, I have to watch this really carefully because this is clever. So, yeah, I think, I don't know. What am I? I'm pushing 40. A movie with the title Killer Clowns from Outer Space feels a little bit like it's not gonna do anything I haven't seen before in a lot of ways. But I was fucking wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it does do a lot of stuff that we've seen before, and completely on purpose. It is full of very on the nose, either pastiche or spoof elements.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a fucking honker of a hoot, isn't it? So, okay, why don't you drop a synopsis? We'll go to break, and then we'll come back and we'll dig in.
Is it too easy to synopsisize this movie?
I would like you to stay away from the phrase "mayhem ensues."
Fuck. This is a real mayhem ensues movie, but starting now, I won't say it. The small town of Crescent Cove, Friday night, Lover's Lane, or the top of the world, as it's called in this movie. The kids, who are 40, are out in droves buying beer, literally beer, branded beer, your favorite, and sipping champagne in rubber rafts in the moonlight. The champagne that is definitely water. That's happening. That's how we start the movie. Hardcore local cop Curtis Mooney, is out looking for teens causing trouble. While this is happening, a farmer, whose name I've forgotten. What's the farmer's name? Farmer Gene Green.
Yeah.
Gene Green Supreme, played by Royal Dano, sees what he thinks is Halley's Comet crash into a pasture in the distance. And he goes to explore and investigate with his dog, Pooh Bear. And what he finds
Great
there...
name for a dog.
Superb
Great name for a dog.
And what he finds there astounds him and audiences alike. A big top, spinning in the night, sitting in the woods. Now, while mayhem does ensue, I'm not allowed to say that. So what happens next is a horde of intergalactic, red-nosed, honk-buddy clowns descend upon the town of Crystal Cove, and it's left to a hot young couple to defend the town and save the world.
Yeah, and their cop friend.
Oh, and their cop buddy, of course, Mike Tobacco.
Mike Tobacco is the guy. Dave Hansen is the cop.
That's it, Dave Hansen. Mike Tobacco. What a fucking name, dude.
Yeah. It's funny.
Like Pete Alcohol. Like, it's so good. Toby Firearm.
Pete Alcohol, isn't that the bassist for the Dickies?
Yeah, probably. One of my favorite D&D characters ever is John Erect Penis. This Mike Tobacco falls firmly in that camp. Some great names in this movie, both in terms of their fictional names and the people playing the characters. And I think a plot that you can really sink your teeth into.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the plot of The Blob and countless
Blob,
other 50s sci-fi horror adjacent type movies.
Yeah, and I like that because people say, oh, it's just the plot of The Blob. But then you get to say, no, it's fucking clowns. So...
Yeah, it's I mean, they're not clowns. They're just aliens that look like clowns and act like clowns.
Deep
And-
debate territory.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get into that debate because for the sake of the podcast, I wrote down all the things that don't make any sense.
In the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space, do you ever spare
Yeah.
fucking 3 days?
So let's take a break and come back, and we'll get into the core debate of this movie.
All right, let's kick back.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
Listen, Jamie, if there's one thing we can both agree on, it's that Red Scare looks after you. That's their main deal. They're always there for you. They've always got your back.
Yeah.
www.redscare.net when you need some love.
No matter what position you're in, they will help you. If you're feeling angry, they've got some angry shit for you. If you're feeling melancholic, they've got some sad shit. If you're feeling like you want to break into a car, there's Max Intruder. Like, it's all there. It's all there for you. If you feel like you want to drown yourself, you can jump into Lake Michigan with a sincere engineer. Like, have a great time.
Very good.
All the time.
That's probably Red Scare's real motto, right? Have a good time all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I stole that from Spinal Tap, but Red Scare can have it.
They can have it from you. Then it's not stealing. Have a good time all the time. RedScareIndustries.net.
Okay, I'm back, Sam. Are you back, Sam?
I am back. Look at this son of a bitch. So many good quotes in this movie. I've been quoting this movie for the last 48 hours.
It does have a lot of good quotes, and a lot of them come from Mooney.
Yeah. One of the best holy shits in cinema history, I think.
Yeah, an absolute, like, A, what is fucking Dean Vernon doing in this movie, for one? And B, why is my favorite character the worst fucking cop you've ever seen in a movie ever?
Yeah, I think he's fucking fantastic in this. The thing that I enjoy most about this movie, I'm going to get it out of the way as early as possible. Everybody plays it 100% straight.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, this is a fucking serious movie. I'm playing it serious as the grave, and you cannot drag me out of my performance. Even the comic foils are like, this is serious shit. We're going to do the best we possibly can.
Yeah, like we're the comic relief in a serious movie.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's played that way. And I think John Vernon, not even for a second, lets on that everything happening around him is completely fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and also he is the vehicle for the one moment in the movie that is actually kind of scary.
What's that then?
When he leans in and he's like, "Don't worry, Dave. All we want to do is kill you."
Yeah, all we want to do is kill you. It's a good line. I didn't find that scene scary. I know it's meant to be the bit that's really scary. Good, like, foreshadowing payoff when he says, "You're not going to make a dummy out of me."
Of course it is, because you know that that's going to happen, because nobody says, "They're not going to make a dummy out of me." Like,
yeah, it's not what you might call a common phrase, but it pays off big in that scene. I think the scariest scene in this is it's very early in the movie. The clowns are out on the road, and one of them sits up in the moonlight, and then you see them all turn around and do this like clown march off down the misty road with the music playing. Yeah,
well, the sit up, I mean, that's wholesale from Halloween, right? That's
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like not shot for shot, like beat for beat, that moment in Halloween.
Yeah.
Where the camera sort of changes focus and he sits up.
And you even get that sting when he sits up. It's brilliant. I love it. But it's a fucking clown.
Yeah, I mean, so much of this movie is, but it's a fucking clown.
Yeah. A space clown.
Can we get into the clown, the clownness of it all?
Yeah, you want to get straight into the clownness.
Yeah, I do. Obviously, this movie doesn't have any real internal logic involving the clowns.
Mm-hmm.
The movie wants us to think, or occasionally wants you to think, when it wants you to think at all, that the clowns they're not clowns, they're aliens that look like clowns, but they also do clown things.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I want to imagine what their home planet is like.
Yeah.
Is it just like, an entire populace of clowns all doing whatever they think is funny? They literally say in the movie that, like, maybe the clowns visited Earth previously, and that's where we get the idea of clowns from. Which
Ancient astronaut theory in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I loved that.
like, sure, that's great, but it doesn't hold any water.
Doesn't it?
Absolutely not. Nothing holds any water in this movie.
Why doesn't that theory hold any water? Disprove it. Go on. Occam's razor that shit to pieces.
No. I refuse. But
I personally think it's the most likely explanation.
like, maybe, but then why do they do so many clown things?
Because this is I think where we're going to disagree here. They are clowns. They are killer clowns from outer space. You know, if it looks like a clown, if it fucks around like a clown, it's a clown.
Yeah, I mean, another question is, how do the clowns know about the painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware?
I thought you could be like, how do these clowns know how to drive cars? Another fucking Michael Myers. Listen, clowns in our, Earth culture, our human Earth culture, have been around fucking serious BC. Like maybe 2,000 years BC, going back to Egypt and, ancient civilizations. Harlequins, clowns. I think the ancient astronaut theory is absolutely bang on in this flick. I think these are, the equivalent of dragons.
So you think that Earth technology developed balloons so we could make balloon animals because we saw them being made by these space clowns?
I think maybe not so that we could make balloon animals, but definitely to emulate the technology of our ancestors. Yeah, for sure. I think we're descended from these clowns.
If any of us are descended from clowns, it's me and you.
Yeah, I honestly think that's the best theory. But why the fuck else would they pose that theory in this movie if they didn't want us to at least think that's plausible? There's no other theory posed.
Sure. I just obviously nobody, particularly not the Chiodo brothers, thought that this movie deserved any scrutiny.
No. I mean, not to the point where there's an origin story or a fucking home planet shot or any of that bullshit.
Yeah.
Nah.
It falls apart when you look at the case and the tagline is, "In space, no one can eat ice cream." That's a metaphor for the entire movie. It's it kind of works as a goofy pun, but it doesn't really make any sense.
In space, no one can eat ice cream is so bad. It's nearly as bad as a song title I have for one of my bands called Born on the 4th of Toulouse. Yeah, I mean, this fucking movie made me laugh so much. It's so my sense of humor. It's not funny, really. There's no well-written comedy. There's no, great bits. There's not that much slapstick. There's some stuff that's, funny because it's meant to be funny, but the vast majority of it, you're just kind of laughing that this even exists. It's so wonderfully stupid that you're just kind of cackling at you can see so much of this was just made with shit they bought at a corner shop. The controls in the spaceship are hysterical. They're upturned corrugated funnels with ball pit balls on top of them that he just sort of goes and just moves them backwards and forwards. It costs pennies. It goes from shit like that to really quite impressive painted sets and some great animatronics. The production value is high enough to really keep you solidly engaged, but you are just kind of fucking cracking up at half of this stuff.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, and about how a physical object in a place is just so much more buy-inable than a fucking CGI little critter.
For sure.
So they've been trying to make a sequel for fucking Strange Eons. So even if they made absolute realistic, terrifying space clowns with amazing CG and all the money in the world, fucking the Waiter Workshop in New Zealand made them or something, you could never buy it in the same way as a guy in a suit wearing a goofy rubber mask where he absolutely cannot make any expressions with his face.
Yep. It's inflate or deflate. Those are your those are your expressions. One thing is I watched this in Ultra HD 4K. Like I watched the best possible version of it. And I was a little worried again going in because I thought surely the charm of this is a bit of VHS grain. It's a bit of darkness. It's a bit of kind of jank. But it looks fucking phenomenal on on an OLED TV in the highest possible def you can get it. It looked amazing. And that made me think, wow, okay, so maybe if they did make a sequel, it wouldn't look like shit. And then I thought, well, the video game obviously looks great. So this is all pointed in the right direction. But then I just realized what it is the cast would obviously be complete crud in now times because it would be annoying modern actors and they would fucking suck. And even if you got the clowns bang on, even if you wheeled out the old clowns and dusted all the crap off them from all the other movies they got used in and just wheeled them up to the front and were like, here they are, rotten fucking spuds with big red noses. I just think the cast is what would let it down because it would be all the fucking dildos from Stranger Things or insert some other fucking teen nonsense and it would blow.
Yeah, it would be the equivalent of Five Nights at Freddy's, which I haven't seen, so maybe is amazing. But like...
Yeah, I mean, fuck that. What was the movie that Nicolas Cage was billed in, but he was in it for like 2 seconds, and it's in a similar thing. It's in like a Chuck E. Cheese.
Willy's Wonderland. He's in it for loads.
Is he?
Yeah. He just doesn't have any lines, but like he's in it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I thought that fucking sucked as well, and I think that's the territory we'd be in with this, where visually, sure, there might be some clever shit, but I just picture a sequel to this in 2024 and want to weep. I think just stop humping it, leave it alone. It never had any sequels, and that's magic to me.
Yeah, I think like it is good that like this is a standalone piece because like it's the old thing, leave them wanting more. Like I want more, but don't give me more.
The fandom for this is borderline rabid. Or even rabid. Like, people are nuts about this movie. The merchandising is absolutely bananas. You've shown me 2 things you own in the last 5 minutes. Like,
yeah, there's also like a bag behind me.
There you go.
I have, yeah.
And it's obviously licensed to like... Go on.
No, you go on.
I was going to say, it's obviously licensed to like Spirit Halloween and shit like that because that, people go there and just walk out with armfuls of Killer Clown stuff every year. You got some of your stuff there, right?
Yeah, I did. Like, Spirit Halloween got quite a lot of stuff there. Universal Halloween Horror Nights 2019 when they had the Killer Clown's house. Got a bunch of stuff there. And I'm not like a big horror merch guy. I don't buy like figurines and stuff because I spend all my money on books and comics. And that's the payoff is really that like cars won't allow too much bullshit in the house. So if they're quite slim like books and comics, I'll get away with it. But if I start buying like fucking...
They're stackable.
Funko Pops or whatever, like I'm gonna have to find somewhere else to live, and I don't want to do that. So
game over.
Yeah,
but that's Halloween Horror Nights don't fucking erect a haunted house for a tiny nothing movie that nobody likes. This movie has people going absolutely frothy over it, and I now fully understand why. It takes a lot for me to get excited about something in the way that I immediately went and pre-ordered the fucking video game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm really excited about that game. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be, I love asymmetric horror, so I'll play basically anything that is asymmetric horror, but I don't always pay for it. So this movie got proper into my funny bone and into my heart, and I really fucking enjoyed it. And there's a lot to be said for just leaving that the fuck alone.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that the game exists is already maybe a bridge too far for me, but...
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to ruin anything for myself, so I watched a tiny bit of the trailer and then stopped because I thought it was going to start telling me how to play it and whatever. But it's Ilphonic. It's the people who made the Friday the 13th game that I absolutely love. One of my all-time favorite games. That was broken and jank and disgusting to look at and had stupid game mechanics and awful fucking graphics. And again, I love that to bits. So I think if this is in any way paying tribute to the movie in the way that that game did, then I think we're in a good place. But yeah, I don't want to see another movie unless... What would it take for you to get excited about a sequel or a remake or a requel or whatever? Like cast-wise, team-wise, director-wise, what would pump your plums?
The thing that would get me excited would be if somehow the Chiodo brothers, while they were in their workshop making molds and things for the Killer Clowns, they accidentally invented time travel.
I see.
went back to 1989 and made Killer Clowns from Outer Space 2,
On the quiet.
and then it already just existed for 4
Yeah.
years.
That's probably the only way, right?
I mean, they make a sequel. Obviously, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm Nostalgia Man 9000. Like, of course, I'm going to watch it. But
That's such a lame superhero name. It's Nostalgia Man, and he's got a Game Boy. Fuck off, Nostalgia Man. Barring, the ability to resurrect the dead, I'm not watching this. I think if I had Leslie Nielsen as Mooney, maybe.
yeah,
If I had maybe Kiefer Sutherland as Dave Hansen, maybe. But
yeah. Like, I don't think there's any way that it would be actually good.
nah.
And there are so few movies that are actually good in this way in the future that we live in.
Yeah.
Like, it would be a Sharknado. It would be a fucking Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. Like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a hobo with a shotgun. Like, it wouldn't be Psycho Gorman.
It's just not
Which you
going to
might-
do anything new with the property. Like, it did everything. It had everything. It had popcorn. It had cotton candy. It had exploding noses and glitter and fireworks and spinning and popping and,
Yeah.
giving pizza to hot chicks. Like, it did everything it possibly could with the idea of clowns coming from space to kill you. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Done.
I feel like clowning hasn't moved forward in 40 years, right?
Dude, it
There's no-
hasn't since the fucking Egyptians. Like,
So, like, what else is there to say?
yeah, I understand the temptation because it's such. I hesitate to say original because I think that's maybe the wrong word, but it's doing something so fun with something so tired, and it's doing something really creative, and that I think gets people excited. It makes them think, oh, we can make more money off this because we're fucking cynical, cash grabbing, soul dead scum whores. When in reality, they should probably just watch it and enjoy it and say, at best, you'll get a video game. Everyone keep it in your pants.
Yeah, what they should do is what they've done is release it on Blu-ray with loads of extras and charge you 30 quid for it. Like,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Have you
And
watched
then
the
everybody-
extras?
I've watched the extras on my DVD,
Right.
but I've not got the Blu-ray yet, which I'm going to get probably right after this.
Nice.
If you want to make money off property like this, just release a really good Blu-ray, which they've done, with loads of extras and documentaries and people who we now care about talking about how fucking great it is or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need more killer clowns from even further away in outer space. Like, it's just not something that I need in my life. But once again, when they make it, and they probably will, I will go and see it
You'll be
because
front row center. Yeah.
I'm a gigantic hypocrite. B, I just like stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And C, I'm a mindless fucking horror drone. So you can just fucking insert me into any bullshit movie and I'll go fucking watch it. It won't cost me
Fair
any
enough.
extra because I have an unlimited pass at the cinema. So
There you
whatever. I'll
wouldn't-
go.
It wouldn't get a cinematic release. I'm sorry. So
It probably would.
here's one of my main problems with the movie. These kids who are making out, right? Why the fuck are they so angry about an ice cream truck showing up? I would be pumped. Their pitch is immaculate. Take a break and have some ice cream and then get back to fucking. I'd be like, what? Yes, that's amazing. Let's do that. But no, they all get up in arms and throw cans and one-liners.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't work. I mean, maybe you were the Terenzi brothers' target audience here.
I really was because I loved them. Everything they did in this movie was gold to me.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, we're going to jump ahead a little bit here, but like, did they fuck
Yes.
the chick clowns?
Yes, these two brothers banged a pair of alien killer clowns with self-inflating boobs in a ball pit and then exploded. It's genius. But the thing is, they did that, in my opinion, feel free to shoot me down, without being overly vulgar and without playing it for gross out laughs. Do you know what I mean? It's not even really mentioned. There's no like, hey, did you fucker? Wink. It's just like, it happened. They're covered in kisses when they come back at the end. Job's a good one, and it's heavily implied PG-13 style, which I love.
Like, you can say that it's not overly vulgar, but their boobs, they literally inflate.
I think that's fine though, because it's so stupid. It's like when you're a kid, do you ever find the hot female gremlin attractive?
When I was a kid, I've carried that with me my entire life.
There you go. Same with these clowns. There's probably embedded some deeply terrifying kinks in some children who were allowed to watch this. I can't believe this is a PG-13. I watched some like bullshit YouTube commentator being like, this is perfect for your kids. If you've got a 9 to 12-year-old kid, you should watch this with them as an introduction to horror. And I was like, you should call Child Protective Services on this motherfucker. This is not a film for kids.
I don't know, like nothing.
Yeah, but you were watching
especially
fucking
violent
Nightmare on Elm Street when you were in the fucking womb. Like, you're different.
But like I say, nothing especially violent happens.
There's a lot of shits. There's a fuck. There's a full-on punch decapitation. There's two brothers fucking a pair of chick clowns. There's a huge scary dinosaur shadow puppet eating people. There's a man being puppeted in a fairly gory style by a clown. There's a lot of clowns.
The only gore is the bit where the clown pulls his hand out of Mooney's anus and whips off his hand like that, and it's gross, and I love it. That's like the only gore in the movie.
The severed head, that's gore, that counts.
Does not count. It's
a
like
severed head counts.
Not if there's no gore.
You see the sever. You see the neck.
It's like that cartoon bit of meat that's like a perfectly round ham hock with a bone in it. That's like
scary enough for a 9-year-old. Come on, dude. Just the clowns alone would have made me splat my pants. Like I probably would have. Was it chlorophobia?
Coulrophobia.
Coulrophobia. The fear of being chloroformed by a cool clown. I would have that right now if I'd seen this movie when I was 9. No doubt.
Like, I think I saw it when I was around 9.
Yeah, it's strange how these things manifest, isn't it? Because I saw the It TV series when I was too young, probably, and all I developed was a fear of it and Pennywise. I didn't develop a fear of clowns. Like,
all I developed was a kink for banging my friends in a sewer. Like,
that's when I read it. That was later. I just think this is too scary for kids, is the bottom line. But, you know, maybe
all
that
I
makes
developed
me
was a kink for young Seth Green.
Yeah. Poor little Seth Green. Has a real hard time in that movie. I mean, this movie, while being immensely fun, is equal measures gross and fantastic to look at. What are some of your visual highlights and lowlights of this movie?
Well, so obviously the way that the clowns look is amazing. Like, obviously they look like they're rubber suits, but they have that real sort of close-up Ren and Stimpy quality.
Yeah.
That I absolutely love. And I think maybe the close-ups in Ren and Stimpy are scarier than anything that happens in this movie, but whatever.
They are terrible. So terrifying, I could barely speak.
But I love that. I love the way the clowns look. I love the lack of logic and physics when they deliver pizza to the hot girl and they've just got like a stack of like 8 pizzas and the little Diddy clown sort of pops out with his eyebrow up.
The funniest bit about that whole sequence is it's backed by music and it's like a little mini montage. They're just going door to door with gifts and then cocooning people. That's hilarious to me. Like, they just start knocking on doors like, oh, pizza. And of course it's like a hot chick in a lacy lingerie with a fucking glass of wine. Like, it all makes so much sense to me. I don't really understand how this movie doesn't make sense to some people. Maybe it's just made for people with my internal logic.
There's just no internal logic. Like,
yeah,
the clowns only do things because they're funny, which is like, I mean, it's great for a movie, but like in the real world, you'd be like, why are you doing that? Like,
yeah, I mean, if that was the aim, I feel like maybe the movie didn't do that great a job because they don't do anything funny. And if they were going to do something funny, it should have just been dudes in masks because then you get more physical comedy, you get more clowning, you get some actual clown behavior. But these are just like big, stiff, rigid, you know, sort of wobbly, rubbery, nothing guys, not doing much and just sort of being present. So that for me was what made it fun. Not funny necessarily. It made it what it was. Look at it that way. But if they wanted, like, you know, these clowns to be running around really pranking people and doing clown stuff. I think they should have done, dudes in suits.
But like, I don't mean like because it's funny, but I mean because it's like funny, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think the optimum way to melt someone isn't to throw a load of custard pies at them.
Mm.
Like the optimum way, the optimum way to cocoon someone isn't to cocoon them in cotton candy.
They're
Do you know what I mean?
clowns.
Well, I know they're
That's what they
clowns, but like
do.
that's not what clowns do.
It kind of is.
Like, but it totally
It's
is.
what Killer Clowns from Outer Space do. Right, I figured it out. I've just figured it out. I am a movie viewer who just accepts what's happening, and you try to apply logic to what you're seeing.
I mean, I'm only attempting to apply logic for the sake of a podcast.
For the sake of scrutiny, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care that it doesn't hold up to any real logic. I think it's a hoot and it's fine.
Yeah.
But it does make me wonder what the home planet's like. Like, how do they
love
get
the idea
anything
of the home
done?
planet. It's the whole inside of the ship, but a planet. I think that's fucking sick. I love that they have popcorn guns. I just think that's so funny. It makes perfect sense to me. Popcorn bazookas.
Like, yeah, but what's their economy like, Sam? Like,
The bones are their money. Yeah, it's hard to imagine these clowns. Do you know what, dude? We're fucked. Let's not judge these clowns based on what we've seen of them in this movie. They can have a thriving economy. They could be. They've figured out, space travel.
like, because sure, like they're ostensibly humanoid, right? They're not like the aliens on LV 426 or whatever. Like they're effectively just bugs. They're humanoid aliens that have developed enough sentience to, know how to make a bunny hand puppet. They're familiar with, revolutionary paintings of the 19th century.
They have their own language.
They do, yeah. So
They
they're
can
not
emulate
just,
human speech
yeah. They can predator copy like the
Yep.
way somebody talks,
for one
despite
scene.
potentially not ever hearing
No,
Dave talk.
maybe that's it. Maybe they're a hive mind. If one
Yeah.
hears, they all hear. And maybe they are hideous beast, space monster, spider guys, and we can only see them as clowns because that's our only frame of reference.
And we can only see their melting discs as custard pies, and we can only see their bullets as popcorn.
Yeah, the same way we can
And-
only compute the greys as greys. How about, okay, so the pies melt the cop, right?
The security guard, yeah.
The security guard, yeah. Why do they melt our heroes at the end? Is that what happens? Is the ending that they all fucking melt?
Yeah. And also, why, when you melt a guy, would you put a cherry on top of him?
Just the cherry on top. What a fucking great film. I never thought I was going to have to say this, but fucking love this film. It shouldn't be so good, but it is. It ticks the boxes. Stylistically, I love how it looks. I thought I hated how the clowns look because I'd seen them before and I thought they look shit. But then you put them in the movie, even though their entrance is really quite innocuous and nothing. It's the one clown sort of shambling in, looking at his feet. Doesn't, I wanted like a real like bang, here's a clown. But it's not that at all. And I think that's because they actually moved the running off the road scene. That was going to be the opening scene. They moved that like 40 minutes in or some shit. Well, I saw this clown and I was like, okay, here we go. Weird way for the clowns to come into this movie, but fine. And I immediately remember thinking, they don't look as shocking as I thought they would in situ. They kind of make sense here. And we've had the big build up with the big top, the amazing fucking scene with Little Pooh Bear leading up to it with Farmer Gene Green. Royal Dano, hero of westerns and screen and stage.
absolutely.
The fact that the movie starts hard, you're straight into the action, you feel like you live in this town immediately. You get the cops, you get the kids, you understand that there's like a rural area and a downtown, and that's all you need. And then you start getting clowns immediately.
I don't think that you feel like you live there. I think this is Southern California, so you wish that you lived there.
Oh, there's no way. This is New York, surely. This is like
No,
upstate
it's-
New York.
No, they shot this in like just south of Santa Cruz.
Ah, but where's it set?
I think it's California.
Really?
I mean,
Everyone's so New York.
yeah, maybe.
How do I feel
But
about
it's
this?
very, very shot in California. They shot a bunch of the stuff in Santa Cruz, and then they shot a bunch of stuff in this small town. Like they've got the Santa Cruz boardwalk shows up in one scene.
Yeah, I really want to know where it's set. Okay, well, I'll buy it, whatever. Oh, okay. The quiet little town of Crescent Cove is Watsonville on Highway 1 between Santa Cruz and Monterey. I mean, that's where they shot it, but where's it set? Curious. I'll take it, sure. But I love the dynamic of the town, and I think it's set up. This is what so many films fuck up. They don't have a sense of place, they don't have a personality, and they don't have a local populace that you can in any way align with because they don't do what this film does. This film gives you tiny, quick vignettes of humans interacting with their surroundings and establishing shots. Done. That's all you need to fucking do, and I'm in. You get the college kids. You're not welcome. We don't like you. You got kids at Makeout Point. You're a nuisance. There's obviously a high school. Blah, blah, blah. We get all this. We see the main street. We see the cops. We understand the dynamic. Bang. We're in. Now clowns. That's pretty tight filmmaking for my buck.
It is nifty, isn't it? It gets you exactly where you need to be very, very quickly.
Yeah. And with some clever, Crescent Cove is a cool name for a town. So is Top of the World as their makeout spot. This isn't just like throwaway garbage. That feels fairly well thought out.
Yeah, well, I think obviously they've xeroxed a bunch of stuff from like 50s horror movies.
Yeah, that's why it has that 50s feel, and there's some good sort of 50s rock and roll vibes in the fairly eclectic soundtrack. And, I think bringing the right amount from those movies here, like just a sprinkling, enough to make you feel safe and comfortable, but also enough to bring a bit of stylistic flair.
Yeah, there's a music cue in this that reminds me of like that Howard Faltermeyer, like Fletch music.
Yep.
Which I absolutely love.
A lot of people, I think, criticize this movie for being too 80s, which I think is fucking dumb as hell. Like, it stays right on the right side of being very 80s. I think the music, obviously very 80s. Visually, I don't think you can say this movie just straight up looks 80s. Do you think?
Like, I mean, it does, but in a way that I think is pretty timeless.
Yeah, it's not over the top. It's not like ramming the 80s down your throat, and it's I can't believe I'm saying this. It's not hugely cliche. Like in the context of an 80s movie being an 88, it's not, I don't know, it's not trying to scream at you this is an 80s fucking horror movie. It just looks the way it looks unapologetically. I don't think there's an enormous amount of thought going into like how hard can we push an 80s aesthetic here. The cops look timeless because they're in timeless classic cop cars and cop uniforms. The costume is pretty unassuming. A lot of the time our characters are wearing grey and brown and not doing a whole bunch with their looks. You get two kind of quintessential, goths, punks, like new wavers, whatever, and they look pretty vanilla. One of them has a clown hairdo, which I think is great. And then, nothing else is screaming like, look how 80s we are. The cars are kind of old. Everything looks a little fucking beaten up and rough around the edges. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think like the way that you avoid that 80s aesthetic is that you make a film that feels like a 50s movie.
Yeah.
So like it bridges that gap, but like it doesn't feel like a 60s or a 70s movie. It just feels like a weird mashup of like 80s and 50s.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually fucking love that in a lot of movies and books and TV. Like when I write, I like to experiment as well with having no sense of place to see if I can, sort of use other things to establish a place or time. And I think this movie does that. The fairground is an incredible setting for me. There's a shot where they drive around, it must be like the Cove, I guess, and you can see the fairground in the distance, and you've got these, pretty dramatic cliffs and the ocean. And I just think and it's the clown ice cream truck, like going down the highway. I just think it looks absolutely gorgeous. I don't think this movie is without, pretty deliberate beauty as well in terms of like style and shooting and, a lot of the things that make it interesting. The shot outside the drugstore with what is it? It's like a gorilla in a fez and a fucking moo or whatever, and then the clown stands next to it. Like that whole thing looks great. It all looks really cool.
Yeah, and they do that joke twice as well. Like, with the other clown outside the Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. But I don't care. I get it. It feels different because like the cigar clown outside the shop isn't trying to like trick somebody into. How much do you wish that you could see that little girl get smashed with that hammer?
Oh yeah, when he's hiding it behind his back. Oh boy, I wanted her to get pancaked.
Yeah, because like one of the reasons that this film works is because we're taking like Looney Tunes physics and applying it to 50% of the population and not everybody else.
Yeah.
So I like that, and I like the idea of being like, okay, there was like a terrible movie that came out in the early 90s. It was called Terratoons, and that was sort of doing that same thing where it was like, here are some cartoon physics, but we're applying it to people who would get hurt in real life.
Right.
And that's a hoot to me. I mean, the movie Terratoons and its many sequels, like it doesn't hold up to any scrutiny, or it isn't even good or fun to watch like this is.
Right.
But like, I want to see those moments where the cartoon physics meet the real world physics, because we don't get to see an awful lot of that. We see cartoon physics applied to people, but they just sort of instantly die when they're cocooned in cotton candy.
Yeah. Probably Budge. I can't imagine they had much sponduli for these effects. I like the guys in the cocoons when they pull the face hole down. I think that looks pretty creepy.
Yeah, and I think maybe less than budget. It's just that like you weren't going to get a PG-13 or a 15 or whatever if you pancake a 9-year-old girl with a giant mallet.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
But like, you know, it would be cool. And maybe the implication of it is enough, because I can see it in my brain. That girl's bits go everywhere.
Yeah,
like,
or just do it with like, if the problem is that it's a kid, just do it with a cop or a dweeb or, you know, whatever. Like, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't like dying to see that, but I wanted.
I mean, I kind of was.
Yeah, I liked how much of a drum roll kind of beat we were at that point in the movie, where it's like this happens and this happens and this happens, and it's just, there wasn't a single second that I thought was boring in this movie, which also surprised me, because I thought there'd be a real fallow patch where people are just running around looking for stuff as usual, but it kept me because the visuals are always there.
Yeah, I think it sort of tails off towards the end.
Do you think so?
Once the clowns have made all their clown jokes.
Yeah.
And then...
you know, I would usually hate a big boss showdown. Normally, that's my checkout. Normally, there's like running around looking for something, then some kind of chase, then a big boss showdown. And the boss normally ruins it. And I'm just like, that happened, fine, the end. But I loved this big boss showdown. I thought the animatronics were superb. I think it's probably shot with like some forced perspective going on, right? It's probably not.
It's just another guy in a clown suit. Like...
Yeah. But I thought visually it kept me the whole way through. The action wasn't too ridiculous. You know, he picks him up, he pops his nose with his cop badge, very on the nose, if you will. But I really enjoyed that showdown because it had some guts and it had some really interesting visuals, and it wasn't hacky or hokey. I just thought it was a real quick, fun boss fight.
Do you want to hear my major issue with the ending?
Yes.
So all the way through the movie, the clowns have clown-based weaponry, right? They have popcorn guns, or they can manifest a shadow puppet dragon, a dinosaur, and eat you. They have a giant mallet, and then at the end, they just have clubs.
Yeah.
They just all have different types of clubs.
Clowns have hammers, though. They have those big funny mallets.
Like, sure,
yeah, banging each other's feet.
But they all have a different club.
Yeah.
It feels like, okay, we're out of fun clown ideas. Let's just give them all big sticks.
Yeah, true. The what do you call it? The mouth snake whistle thing. That was kind of fun. I like that. That was kind of clever.
Yeah, and I also, hey, maybe the ice cream truck is a secret clown god. That comes out of nowhere. Where did the Terenzis even get that idea? I mean, I love it too, but like, where did the Terenzis even get the idea? Hey, maybe they'll think that our truck is a god.
The expression on the big fat clown's face when his mouth opens when he hears that voice is so good. Again, that's another thing I thought I would hate. Something like that in a movie is normally where I'm like, oh my God, try again. Also thought I would hate the balloon animal dog.
I love the balloon animal sniffer dog. That is one of my absolute highlights of this movie. It's just like, you know, we're in dumb clown stuff. A clown can make a dog. what do dogs do? They sniff out the people that you want to find. Like, it's
Yep.
perfect.
And someone was
It's a
like,
dream.
well, should we make a fucking stop motion one so it doesn't look like garbage? No, let's just wiggle real balloons. Let's have a real balloon animal just wiggling around. Oh, I thought it was so fun.
Yeah, it's
Again,
like one step away from the hand on your neck, like around the door.
Yeah, exactly. It's that to the max. This whole movie is that to the max. Yeah, I really enjoyed the whole aesthetic of the clown ice cream truck. Everything being clowns, whoops, everything clowns is perfect for this movie because there can't be too much. Like, there's no such thing as too much clown in Killer Clowns
No.
from Outer Space, and it just keeps coming. And I love the aesthetic of the circus, and I'm absolutely madly in love with the romance of the circus. So I was a bit worried that this would just be a big steaming dump on everything I enjoy about that. But it wasn't. It was a huge Technicolor augmentation of that. It's like that on acid. And I just have a huge amount of respect for that level of gamble and silliness.
Yeah, it's weird that, like, they're clowns, so there's a lot of circus aesthetic there. But there are no other circus folk,
No, like the big bad isn't a ringmaster.
which, would make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it would make sense. Well, anything would make sense here, I think. Maybe with but then it wouldn't be Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It would be the Killer Circus from Outer Space, which would be sick. Don't get me wrong. That would be. I bet that fan fiction exists somewhere. But
yeah,
for right
maybe
now,
that's the sequel.
yeah. But all you get now is all clowns all the time, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I think maybe the only way you'll get me to watch a sequel, I mean, it isn't, because I've said I'll watch any sequel that you make. But, like, if
The only
it's
way you'll
just-
get me to watch it is to make it.
Yeah. But if it's just, 2 hours of the Terenzi brothers just hammering those girl clowns.
2 hours. Not 90 minutes. 2 hours of clown
Yeah.
fucking. I like the idea that every thrust is a.
There's a movie with Ross Noble called Stitches where he plays a clown that comes back from the dead.
Oh wow.
And there's an opening scene where he's not dead yet, and he's having sex with someone in, like, his little clown trailer.
Yeah.
And he's in his full clown outfit, and he's got his little honky horn around his neck, and it just, like, keeps getting stuck in between them. So it's like, it's funny. It's really funny. That movie is not great, but there are some fun moments in that Ross Noble Killer Clown movie.
Nice.
Can we talk about my favorite line in the movie?
Ooh. I wonder what it is. Yeah, go on. What's your favorite line in the movie?
Do you want to try and guess? I mean, you won't guess because it's almost too silly.
Is it where's the dang ticket booth? Because that was one of my faves. How excited he is about getting a hot dog. It's so good. No, it's obviously not that. No, I don't. I'm not going to keep guessing. Go on. What is it?
Okay, so it's such a silly little gloss over moment. It's maybe the one bit of the stuff with the human characters that isn't quite serious.
Okay.
Or taken very seriously. And it's
Oh.
when
Is it nobody stores cotton candy like this?
no, it's not, but that is also good.
It's one of my favorites.
It's when they're when they're explaining to Dave the cop
Yeah.
about the cocoons, and they say cocoons like 500 times.
Yeah.
And then he's like, cocoons? And he's like, yeah, cocoons. I love it.
It's really
The
good.
The delivery on it is just like, this is so silly.
Perfect. But they
like,
do
I
it with the
love
door
it.
as well. When he's like, go through the door. Another door. Another door. They just keep shouting another door. It's great. Shit like that, like, is what keeps this movie ticking at such a fast pace. Like, what are you going to do with those pies, boys? Like, there's so many great lines. There's no shit dialogue in this film, if you ask me. If you want my
Yeah.
honest opinion, I think the dialogue is, again, another huge part of, what makes this.
I have some issues with some of the Terenzi brothers dialogues.
Okay. Actually, now
Like,
I think yeah, go on.
the whole liquor stick, like, ice
That was
cream as your penis situation. It's just like I get it, and I respect it, but it doesn't quite work.
Listen, in defense of the Terenzi brothers, which is something I never thought I'd say, I think the subtle thrust that he delivers when he says that line is all that line needs to make it
you're
perfect.
right. You
He
are
doesn't
right.
go over the top. It's not lewd. It's just on the money. Right on the red nose. Isn't this place great or what? It looks like it was decorated by Clowns R Us. So many great lines.
That is the stupidest thing you could say in a big top.
Look at his face when he says it. He's so pleased with himself. Oh, God. So many good lines. No one's going to put me in a balloon again. It just doesn't stop. It's relentlessly funny. I love it.
It's like when they put her out of when they like pop the balloon and take her out of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I can breathe again. You've been in that balloon for like 20 minutes. You are long dead.
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely dead.
And I also love that they put her in a balloon rather than turning her into cotton candy for narrative reasons.
Yeah,
like,
just to well, they could have transported her in the. Well, I suppose they die as soon as they go in the cocoon, right? Yeah. I wanted to run away from the circus. So good.
Yeah. Can we talk about the cops? Both cops.
Yeah, come on.
So the movie gives us a good cop and a bad cop, right?
Yeah.
I want to say that I also think, I mean, he's a cop for one, but Dave is a bad cop.
John Allen Nelson as Dave, right?
Yeah. Because, right, Debbie is in high school. This guy is a cop.
Yeah.
Like, what is the age difference here? Despite the fact that they both look 45. Like, what is the actual character-based age difference here? Because that is...
Dude, minimal. In the US in the 80s, you could be a cop straight out of high school, I guarantee it. I bet the academy's like 3 weeks. Can you pistol whip a guy and can you drive? Yes, you're in.
If that was the training at the academy, then why would Mooney be so anti-academy? I think...
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe there's like one rule you have to learn at the academy. Mooney just came out of Korea and put on grabbed a truncheon. That was it. Like, these guys both suck. One's a by-the-book dweeb cop, and one's a full-on police brutality cop. Like, this town is fucking living under the cosh of serious authoritarian repression. Like,
yeah. That's why they needed the clowns, right? The clowns needed to add some levity into this horrible town. I can only imagine how fucking bleak it is to live there on a normal day-to-day basis.
Maybe that's exactly why they picked Crescent Cove as their first stop. How long does Dave spend telling Mooney to lighten up? That's what the clowns heard the call, bud. That's why they're here.
Yeah.
That's a big question people tend to ask, like, why are the clowns here? They're obviously eating. They're feeding, aren't they? They drink people when they're in their candy cocoons. In their big top spaceship.
Like, how much candy blood do you need? Like, are they taking it back to, feed their entire nation because the economy is crashing, because nobody does any work because they're fucking clowns?
Right.
Or
I think you can apply to be a cop at 17, by the way.
Okay. But it must be a year in the academy, right? 6 months, something like that.
Yeah, you have to be fucking over the age that you're busting people.
Yeah, and like Dave Tobacco and Debbie, are they at the university, or are they just like high schoolers?
Tobacco.
Are they just high schoolers, or are they at the university with everybody else?
This is what astonishes me, is I think they're supposed to be high schoolers, because college kids don't go to Makeout Point, do they? They go to their dorms.
They've got dorms, yeah. Or they, walk through the park with a bottle of wine.
Which I liked as well. That was great. Do you know what this movie did? It didn't sink too deep. There was a whole Native American scene that was rough, but that's the only bit of real, like, shit that doesn't age well. That scene wasn't as homophobic as it could have been. They could have gone so hard on that, and they kind of didn't. There's one remark, and it's not too blue. It stays just on the right side of taste. Oh my God, I'm saying Killer Clowns from Outer Space is on the right side of good taste.
A great line in the scene with those two punks is, what are you in for? To the clown.
Yeah, so good. I love it. What is he in for? There's nothing wrong. John Vernon, dude. Wow, that voice.
Yeah. I'm quite partial to a gravelly voiced, hard, tough guy, but he nails it here. His commitment to this character, they should teach that in like acting school. Like, it's insane.
They should teach it in the academy. He should train cops. Yeah, it's great. I think Dave Hansen, John Allen Nelson, is so handsome in this as well. Like, he looks like he should have had an enormous fucking career. Like, giving me serious Kiefer Sutherland vibes the whole fucking time. obviously had a career. Like, obviously did loads of all the classic stuff that we always talk about in this movie, CSI Miami and NCIS
Yeah, of
and
course.
Crisis. But I thought, I also, again, tell me to shut the fuck up if I'm going too hard here, but I don't think anyone was bad in this film. I think everyone acted really well.
I think, like, there's a lot of quite good, but still sort of low budget 80s horror movie acting.
Yeah, there's a lot of like overacting and shouting and melodrama, but
Yeah, mostly
right in
from
its place.
mostly from Dave Tobacco, who just yells after he stops making out at the beginning. He yells for the rest of the movie.
He does, but here's why I think that's genius. And I actually wrote this down. Guys like Mike Tobacco in these kind of movies are always given a grey sweater with a popped collar and a totally normal hairdo and just not much, no backstory, nothing to really lean into as a character. And they're just expected to deliver the lines and move the plot along. But he brings that zany, over-the-top manic energy that makes him memorable. He does what a lot of, secondary characters in Friday movies end up doing in order to establish themselves in the hearts of fans and in the canon and everything else. And he does it really well. I never think, oh my God, will this guy shut the fuck up? I think, what's he going to shout next? Which is great.
A moment that I really like, going back to Mooney, is when he's sitting in the police station and he's reading a magazine and like chuckling to himself. And then he turns a page and you realize that he's reading Guns and Ammo.
Yeah, he's laughing at Guns and Ammo. Just reading the cartoons, having a blast. Yeah, so good.
Are there cartoons in Guns and Ammo? I've always wondered.
You'd have to ask someone who reads Guns and Ammo, I guess.
Yeah.
I've definitely thumbed through it on the can in some questionable American houses I've stayed in, but I don't remember seeing cartoons. I imagine there are political satires in there for sure. But yeah, he delivers so many good, like, holy shits. He gets the one fuck of the movie, which I think is great. Just really good, really strong performance. Again, just coming at this like you're in Jaws, I think is such a great way to approach the dumbest script. He would have read this script. Do you know what I mean? He will have actually read it and been like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be like a parody hard-nosed cop and, drop zingers. I'm just going to do it absolutely stone cold serious. And that was the right move. I think everyone did that and everyone did it well.
Yeah.
Apart from Roy O'Dano. He's the only guy who took it to
he's in a different
place.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, that didn't feel jarring either. That felt like the perfect setup for the rest of the movie, even though tonally it was potentially a little bit off. I thought he was great. I thought he was really funny, totally engaging, visually superb as always. This thing's wired. Again, every line he says is gold, and that's what hooks you in. It's the opening scene. It's the what's the fucking Stephen King thing where he's
Geordie Verrill in Creepshow.
Yeah, Geordie Verrill, but he's what Geordie Verrill's based on, right? Wait, what came first?
Creepshow came first, and also the Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill was in Tales from the Crypt or whatever in the 50s.
Yeah, of course. Well, there's loads of that happening in movies up until this point. I just wondered because it's so close to Geordie Verrill, like in terms of the dumbness. Yeah, I don't know. I love that shit. What about? I mean, we do have a tight, small cast here, don't we? There's no fucking around. You got your core group, and that's about it, really.
Your
Anyone
core group,
let you down?
You've got Mooney. I mean, no, I'm happy with everyone here. They're all pulling their weight, doing goofy shit, and having a great time while they do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, let me ask you this, Sam. What's your favorite special effect?
My favorite special effect is probably I really enjoyed the spinning, exploding death of the clown because I found out how they did it, and it's this incredibly clever like column of mirrors with lights and lasers bouncing off it, and then they add the sparks in post. So I enjoyed watching that, but then I enjoyed more finding out how they did it because I thought that was really inventive, and they couldn't do that for any other deaths because it was too expensive and took too long. So I did enjoy that. I think my favorite special effect is probably the whole boss fight counts as one big special effect, but I also love the big top spinning and taking off and flying into the sky and exploding. Those are probably my faves. Yeah,
I think mine is the inflating boobs.
I mean, that is some next level. Like Nicotero is making notes.
Yeah.
I mean, it is great.
One-handed notes.
There was no zoom in on that. There's no like close shot of it just to hammer it home. It's tastefully done, bud. When those boobs inflate, it's done so with panache.
Yeah, I think I like the little stalky head baby clowns.
That was the only part of the movie that didn't do it for me. And I'm not saying it didn't do it in that it turned me off and I thought it sucked. I thought the effect was great. The idea's cool. They grow out of the popcorn like they're larvae somehow. Sure, of course they do. But anytime there's like little minions and like little bitey creatures or dogs or whatever, like I just sort of, it doesn't really do it for me. But I loved how they looked. I love that they can't even properly open their eyes yet. They're like young clowns. I thought that was pretty sick and twisted. Yeah.
Fetal little baby clowns.
Yeah, snake fetal baby clowns.
The movie isn't scary and there's very little actual peril.
Hmm.
So like that scene does feel a bit jarring because it's trying to maybe elicit some peril.
Yeah, it's more of a horror movie scene than much of the rest of this movie.
I feel a bit cheated that when she shoves the shower head down the snaky clown's throat, it doesn't inflate.
I know. I was gagging for that. I thought, oh, here we go. We're going to get an inflation and an explosion of some kind, but no, it just sort of whizzed around.
Yeah.
I like that is like the horror scene. Like, I bet if you are a kid watching this, that's the bit you're scared of, maybe, and the rest of it, not so much. Because there has to.
I also like that she throws a towel over the other ones and just runs away.
Drops it, like literally, like fingertips, drops it and hops over them. They were like, don't hit them; they're expensive. Just like drop it and run. Yeah, really good.
Come on, man. Does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
I wonder if there's a novelization.
Oh, that's a good question. I've never seen one, and I'm a big novelization guy. So
You're what they call a novelizer.
I like a novelization. My favorite one is Gremlins 2.
I looked up novelization of Killer Klowns, and all I got was John Wayne Gacy books. So maybe I'll have to investigate that in more detail later. I like to think that there is somewhere in the minds of the creators a slightly expanded universe, but they've never tipped their hat, have they? They've never given any of the secrets about the where they come from, what they're here for, etc., etc. It's all left to people like us to thrash out for hours on podcasts.
I respect that because
So do I.
I mean, I've never been a big Harry Potter guy, but like J.K. Rowling on Twitter being like, oh, by the way, all the wizards are gay and they shit in the street and then Expelliarmus it into toilets or whatever. Like that's bullshit. Do you know what I mean?
Right. What, revealing the fucking expanded universe of your novels on Twitter? Yeah, that sucks.
A, that sucks, and B, the expanded universe of it is stupid. Why would you shit in the street and then make it disappear? You can do that in your pants.
Oh, you're being serious?
Yeah, like literally, like...
Wait, hold on. Did you say you can do that in your pants? Why would you shit in the street when you can shit in your pants?
Well, if you're making it disappear...
Yeah, I suppose you lose out on the satisfaction of shitting your pants if you do it in the street.
Like, and everybody gets to see you shit.
What if you slip and you make your butthole disappear? I don't really know how Harry Potter works. I'm not sure what we're talking about.
I could shit in my pants and you wouldn't know it. I've done it 3 times during this recording. Like...
I think if I was sitting next to you, I might know it.
No, because I used my special sorting hat, magic wand. I don't know. I'm just saying Harry Potter things.
Yeah, sorting hat pants.
Yeah.
I don't know Harry Potter enough to chime in on how wizards make their dicks disappear or what the fuck you're talking about. But listen, from your ears, from your lips to God's ears, what's your favorite thing about Killer Klowns from Outer Space?
That it exists.
Yeah. It's fucking sick. Do you know what I don't like about Killer Klowns is it seems to me in the fandom, a lot of people seem to, I don't know, it doesn't seem to have a particularly sophisticated place in horror history. Like a lot of people.
That's weird.
I think it's too many people dismiss this as just being dumb. I don't think it's that dumb.
I think it's clever dumb, right? It's people thinking dumb things through to the nth degree, so you get interesting things done with dumb ideas or interesting outcomes done with dumb starting points. Like, I mean, we cannot call the inflatable clown boob movie clever.
I'm gonna. Fuck it. I'm
But
gonna.
but I think they started off with a very dumb idea,
Hmm.
and they workshopped that dumb idea into an interesting place.
Yeah. Maybe it's that the world ruins movies like this. Because
Yeah.
a movie called Killer Clowns from Outer Space with the cover art that this has should suck. Like, it should be bad. But if you strip it back to its core elements, that is a good idea. And it is a well-made film with good performances and really funny dialogue and lots of cool shit happening on screen that looks good. So it ain't a shit film. It's the polar opposite. It's a fucking, if it's a shit film, it's a magically disappearing shit film. It's
Yeah.
super clever and I really like it.
I do too. Why don't you give me your rating and your final sum up thoughts, Sam?
Killer Clowns from Outer Space gets 10 melting security guards battered with pies out of 10 from me. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I can't really fault this movie.
It's been a long time since
What?
a perfect score from you.
Yeah, really long time. And I hope I live to regret it. This movie, from start to finish, had me in its pocket. Like, I just didn't stray, didn't get bored. It did exactly. That's what I respect most about a movie. It's not that it's a great cinematic masterpiece. If it sets out to do something and it does it, then it gets a 10 out of 10. And for me, this movie did exactly what it wanted to the whole way through. It created a little world where people can have a whole ton of fun with something kind of edgy and kind of scary, something that I felt was an original take on some pretty tired ideas. And those are things that I love to see. So it surprised me, it excited me, it made me laugh, and occasionally it had some really cool eerie visuals that I was into from a horror viewing perspective. So yeah, there's just too much good about this to do it the dishonor of shaving any marks off. It's 10 on 10 for me.
So I completely agree with almost everything you said.
Mm.
Like, I do think that it runs out of steam towards the end. So like it's fucking 88 minutes long or whatever. Like, it should not have time to run out of steam.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of does. When the clowns stop doing clown things and start just sort of standing around trying to be menacing, and fucking King Clown comes out.
Is that at the fairground? Are you talking about? Is that mostly where that happens? Okay, right.
Yeah, like the last great moment of this movie is the security guard getting fully pied, and maybe
Crikey.
the Terenzi brothers coming back and him being like, "Oh, I thought you were dead," and he was like, "No, we hid in the freezers. Cool, see you later." Like,
love those guys.
The truck exploded. All right, whatever. But like,
they also didn't tell everyone how much they got laid, which I thought they would. But carry on.
Well, a Terenzi gentleman never tells.
And turns out, see what a character arc. Turns out they're gentlemen after all that. After trying to get laid in their ice cream truck by giving girls free ice cream, their arc is that they eventually do get laid in their ice cream truck, and they don't tell everyone. I think that's a touching, that's a beautiful thing.
I think it's slightly problematic that they pick up fat girls and ply them with free ice cream in order to get laid.
There's maybe a couple of things in this movie that haven't aged all that well, sure. But, I don't know, in its little time capsule, it's fucking great.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I say, everything is good and the ending is a bit weak. So for me, it gets 7 sexy pizza girls out of 8.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
7 out of 8, that's really high.
Yeah, 7 clown fingers inside Mooney's anus out of 8.
Yeah, that's a high rating. Holy crap. Between us, we've just given this movie a very, very high Final Transmission rating.
Yeah, 17 out of 18.
That's pretty top. That's high up there. And it did make me really excited to play the game. And not just because I will play any asymmetric horror survival game from basically any property or original idea, but because I get to go to Crescent Cove. I get to be a clown or a survivor, an actual character from the movie, and I get to run around doing the things that happen in this movie, which is just a perfect way to spend the late hours of a Friday night.
I wonder if the asymmetric horror game Killer Clowns from Outer Space will fare better than all of the other ones that I've played, because it doesn't have the mainstream level of fandom of, say, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre or a Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight, which is, propertyless apart from the little things that they pop in, which is like after, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks, it becomes completely unplayable because I'm dog shit at video games and everybody else in the world is amazing at them.
Yeah, because the matchmaking is so unsophisticated that it just keeps putting you with people who stay at home playing video games all day. And that's always a huge letdown. The biggest letdown in the history of video games is how amazing the Evil Dead game looked, felt, was to play, and how many thousands of hours and love went into making that game, and how, like you said, not only could I not even play it after a couple of weeks, but people were just abusive to anyone who wasn't at their standard, like verbally abusive to people. So that's the kind of prohibitive, elitist, gatekeeping bullshit that ruins a game, and that's why a game has to be a little bit unplayable to be great as a survival horror game, in my opinion. That's why Friday the 13th was so perfect, because it was completely unplayable for everybody. Nobody could get good at it. So I have a lot of high hopes for this because, yeah, maybe it won't attract the same bullies and
the griefers or
sad
whatever
cases. Yeah, like I would really like it if it's just fun. Like that's really all games need to be. But we'll see. Time will tell. It needs like Fortnite matchmaking for it to be, to have longevity, because none of these games are bad. Texas Chainsaw was brilliant, like you said, for a couple of months, but it didn't go where it needed to go, I don't think. And again, I'm an unsophisticated video game player. I don't really know how they're made or what happens afterwards, but I have high hopes for this because it doesn't have to look fantastic to work really well. It doesn't have to play that well to be really great. And like you said, I have a lot of faith in the fandom of this movie to make me think that people playing it are probably coming at it from the right place.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a mini game where you can inflate a clown's boobs.
Yeah. I'd like one of those like water pistol games where you fire it into her mouth and her boobs get big until they pop. That'd be perfect.
Yeah.
If only we had a theme park, Jamie. Imagine how cancelled we'd be.
So the thing that I have high hopes for, Sam, more than anything else in the world, is that the person listening to this goes to whatever platform they're listening to it on and rates this episode or this podcast 5 stars and writes a little review saying how much they enjoyed us talking about inflatable clown boobs for 2 hours.
I share your dream, and I think, you know what? It's not that much to ask. We just gave you a couple of hours of killer clowns from outer space for free. So use your thumb for good and cram it up Mooney's ass, and then give us a 5-star review. Give us a little review. Give us a shout out on social media. Why not? You're already following us. If you're not, you should be. Shame on you. Give us a little pump. Get our dicks racing with an Instagram story or something. Do a TikTok. Grow a Twitter. Whatever it is you people are doing out there on the webs. And tell your friends. That's the best way to grow a pod, is to tell your buds. Send them a link. Give them a high five. Do whatever the fuck these kids are doing.
Yeah. That went to a laboured place, Sam. But
yeah, I'm really sorry.
That.
It's because I don't
love
care.
You for it.
I don't fucking care if you do it or not. I just couldn't care less. But thanks.
Yeah.
I'm grateful, but I don't care.
It just means that you'll know what we're doing next. And if that's something that's interesting to you, if you want to know what we're doing next week, then the only place you'll find out is on social media.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not going to come to your house with a stack of pizzas and tell you.
No. Although, if I did come to your house with a stack of pizzas, I would give you the look that the sexy pizza girl gets in this movie, which is you're about to get buclowned.
Yes, you would. That's why we're not allowed to do that. That's why we can't go to people's houses to tell them about our podcast. We're not the fucking Jehovah's Witnesses of Spotify, okay?
Yeah.
Yet.
Have you heard the good news about the killer clowns from outer space? Their boobs inflate. That's the good news.